Hey, Chris Lipe here with some of the most common vocal exercises ranked from worst to best, and why, and what you can do to make some of the ones that I have ranked as worst much more productive for you if you continue to keep using them. Now, it's important to understand here that none of these exercises are inherently all bad in and of themselves. The reason I have ranked things the way I have is that many of the ones that show up in the worst category are more often than not done incorrectly or in such a way that actually works against the singer instead of doing what it's supposed to do, which is help you. And you won't be able to get the most out of any of these if you don't have a fundamental understanding of how to support your voice and how to place your voice. If you need help doing that, or you think you might need help doing that, click the link below in the pinned comment or video description and join my free course. And then these exercises, even some of the ones on the worst list, are going to be more helpful for you. And to begin, the worst of the worst, ascending scale exercises. Many of you have heard me talk about this in my courses and on the channel before. I really don't like them. I don't like them for myself. I don't like getting students involved with ascending scale exercises because they almost always lead the student to start pushing as they go higher to maintain the note routine or what is being played on the piano or whatever. Can't hit that note the third repetition in because it's getting too high? Just push a little more. Tense. No. We don't want to be doing that, especially in warming up, but also when we're trying to do things like expand our range. The last thing we want to do is inch higher with a sequence of notes unmindfully and keep trying to push into areas that are uncomfortable and uncharted. There's so much more freedom when I'm not locked into it. While they can be effective, and there's a reason that they're used, there are so many other exercises that do what scale exercises are used for in a much more efficient way that encourages mindfulness, relaxation, a release of tension. The next worst, but only slightly better, are sirens. Now you might say, what sirens? Those are amazing tools. I'm doing them right now with my voice a little bit. They're not that great for the same reasons that pure scale, especially ascending scale exercises, are not that great. Because so many people go, oh yeah, sirens are an awesome exercise. And they do them in a way that is pushed, that is sort of plowing. And they do them, why? To unlock their higher range or to feel out their voice across multiple ranges. But here's the problem. While they don't lock you into striving for certain pitches, and they do a good job of stretching your voice if done correctly, most people push too hard. Most people don't do them mindfully. They do them wrong. Doing them right, they can be effective. However, I prefer to use sirens in a different context that helps you release into the benefits of the siren with a couple other add-ons to the technique, instead of just using it to throw your voice, probably before you're even warmed up. It's forced. I'm trying to push for the sake of covering lots of range. More on using sirens well later in this video when we learn to attach it to some of my other favorite exercises. And only slightly better, lip trills. Yeah, most of you are probably going to click out right now. How could lip trills possibly be one of the worst exercises? As I said at the beginning, it's because they're so common that most people don't do them right, and therefore it makes the exercise easy to screw up and difficult to get the real benefits from them. Yes, if you do lip trills in certain ways with certain things in mind, and by the way, don't attach them to difficult ascending scale exercises, they can work really, really well, but you must know how to use them, what other techniques to bring in to the lip trills in order to get the benefit. Simply doing lip trills for lip trills' sake cause you to go backward, they can cause you to burn out your voice, they can cause you to create lots of tension that you don't want. You're doing exercises to release tension. You're doing exercises to help your voice warm up. Don't just go, oh, that guy's using lip trills, I'm going to do lip trills too, and start. They won't work. I'll show you how to make lip trills actually beneficial for the long term and the short term later in this video as we start attaching them to other things. Better still, not as good as they could be. The first exercise in my slightly better category is arpeggios. Why are arpeggios better than ascending scale exercises? Well, first of all, if you do arpeggios still in a limited range, in other words, not trying to span octaves or multiple octaves, they give you a chance to create gaps that help you recenter your resonance and placement better than a scale, even if you're not really thinking about it. That's one of the reasons I like arpeggios a little bit better. I still don't like them a ton because used right out of the gate, which is where a lot of people go with these when they first start warming up or when they first start trying to, get their voice going for the day, they'll go to arpeggios. They'll go to a triad or something, and they'll use it in an ascending way. This causes them to start comfortably, and then before they're ready, before their voice is fully ready for it, they get into that area where they start pushing just to maintain the triad. The point isn't to maintain the triad. The point is to come to terms with where your voice is. The point is to feel your voice, coax it into being used in relaxed and free ways. And arpeggios, more often than not, I've seen it when students use them, especially unmindfully, it does the opposite. It causes them to do this. It causes them to develop tension in their neck as they start to get higher. And it causes them to struggle with pitch because they start burning out partway through the exercise. There's a way better way to warm up your range, to warm up your pitch sense than arpeggios. They are note-driven, not placement and dynamically driven. Moving on in our slightly better category, reverse sirens. These are a lot better than regular sirens because we start intentionally high. We start intentionally high and light. It's much easier to center yourself in a light disposition with a reverse siren, especially for beginners, than it is a full siren. So as we dip with our voice, going up to a comfortable high area that's arbitrary and going down, we start to engage the upper lighter areas of our voice by default. You probably aren't going to shout as high as you possibly can and then go down. Just by human nature, that's not what happens. So if we treat these like a whimper, like a way to start engaging the higher areas of our voice in a way that is low impact, we will develop relaxed access to our entire range. Way better than if we're starting low and pushing up to it. Slightly better and actually quite therapeutic for many is humming. Humming. Humming is a great way to come to terms with your voice, to wake up your voice so that it is resonant and present. And I use humming all the time. Why is it not in my best category? Because it's one of those exercises that people say is great, but oftentimes people don't know how to hum for the most benefit. Like lip trills, but not as damaging or weird if you do them wrong, it's too broad. We need to know what to hum, how to hum for the maximum benefit. Lots of people will hum, but they're not fully relaxed. Lots of people will hum, but they'll push their voice behind the hum. Lots of people will hum scale exercises or arpeggios. This just isn't the best way, the most efficient way to get in touch with your voice. Now here's where we start to get into the better and best categories, my favorite vocal exercises, and why. Now towards the bottom of this list, but vastly better than some of the other exercises that we've covered so far, practicing resonant speaking. This is a great exercise because we are not striving for any one note. We are not trying to get particular sounds. Instead, we are leaning into the sensations that our voice creates as we create extra vibrations surrounded by arbitrary pitches that are being made. We're not singing at all. We're speaking, and we're letting things happen in a particular way. You say, well, why don't we just do resonant singing? Because most of the time, when we just go straight to singing, we end up focusing too much on note production and not enough on placement and experiencing our voice for what it truly is in its primal nature, resonance. So what is resonant speaking? It is slowing down. It is being range-filled and noticing the differences in timbre and tone as we create different range-filled sorts of things, but it's just having a conversation and talking. This is a wonderful way to do what the benefits sometimes are reported to be of sirens, but in a way that is, by default, less striving. Because we're leaning into consonants and sibilants and transitions that are a little bit more arbitrary, rather than simply pitch. Notice, and even as I'm talking right now, as I'm leaning in to the closure of certain sounds, we create these instances of back pressure like an SOVT exercise might. We exercise different parts of our range. We go in different registers. We take breaks. We phrase. We transition. All sorts of things are happening at once and in a very low budget, low impact, highly effective way. Resonant speaking is one of the first things that I do when I get up in the morning, and it carries me throughout my day. When I'm making videos, I have warmed my voice up in this resonant, attentive way. So my voice lasts a lot longer, and it bleeds into my singing so unconsciously and so effectively. It is absolutely amazing. Only slightly better and no more or less important is laughing for me. Think of something or just create an energy that makes you laugh. Gauge your belly a little bit. Create some cartoon sorts of laughs. Why are laughs so awesome? They do similar things that resonant speaking does, getting you to work all around in a free, tension-filled, low expectation, low budget way. But they give you some of the benefits that people think you're getting out of scales or arpeggios. When you laugh, most of the time, your voice is quite rangy, and you don't even realize it. The other thing that you're doing by accident when you laugh in different ways is you're practicing warming up onsets or engaging onsets with your voice. A hard onset. A soft onset. And you're doing so with lots of different variances in your breath pressure, as well as pitch and placement. The other thing you're doing is you're engaging your support in a way that's deeper than you are, again, by accident, when you're simply going to an exercise that involves pitch. Here's where we get to engage with our voice with pitch, with notes, but only halfway intentionally. You see, we're not following a particular routine or regime. We're not testing or sort of forcing coordinations. We are darting around to pitches that are not next to each other for the most part, but we're doing so not by pushing to them. We're doing so by releasing into them. Now, there's a certain way that I do bad yodeling that is the most beneficial, but really any bad yodeling is better than a forced or pushed scale exercise. And the reason I like it so much better is because it's hard to do it wrong and feel tense because of it. It's like you get a lot of benefit from it, even if you're not doing it as well as you could. but you get even way more benefit if you're doing it really smart. And with bad yodeling, here's where we can bring in some of the exercises that I've classified as the worst, because we're attaching it to a mindset and to an approach that minimizes the need to strive and actually encourages you to be more tension-free and released. Going between different arbitrary pitches behind lip trills is one of my favorite exercises, specifically in warming up. And my favorite exercise of all time that I use every day and helps me with my speaking, my singing, my sleeping. I mean, it helps. It's such a universally wonderful exercise. And it ties in so many of the benefits. As a matter of fact, we can bring in some of the worst exercises in really cool ways so that you get the maximum benefit, you release your tension, and you get the benefits of what are reported for things like lip trills, sirens, arpeggios, all those things, if we're doing them with this approach. And that is short phrases with spontaneous notes. The great thing about short phrases is they might come from a song, but they're not a full song or even a full verse. They're just a very simple line. We can design a short phrase that helps us bounce around different vocal engagements in freeing ways so that we don't get locked into striving in a particular exercise, but we utilize the power of many exercises. Let me give you an example. Making memories one by one. Living life and having fun. Yes, resonant speaking. We can assign notes, any notes we want, as long as they are free and tension-free. Making memories. Yeah, I'm creating back pressure. I'm doing all sorts of things. I'm sirening a little bit with my voice. I'm going in between my resonance. I'm throwing it up. I'm descending. I'm using all of the exercises, but I'm bouncing around in a very dynamic way. This warms up your voice, conditions your voice, strengthens your voice, exercises your voice in ways that simply sticking to a specific exercise order or specific exercises you've been told are good, it's way better. And here's where I really use lip trills. I go in and out of them, and it's great. Memories, one by one, living. I can attach it to different vowels. The advantage of putting a lip trill at the beginning of a short phrase and then attaching it to notes here and there is that we create this wonderful non-threatening back pressure, and we learn to release with that existing pressure into normal phonation. This is the best way you can possibly exercise and incidentally warm up your voice. So, short phrases win for the best of the best in my list of exercises ranked worst to best. I hope you've enjoyed this. For more exercises, for more ways to engage with your voice in freeing ways, click the link below in the pinned comment or video description and join my free voice course. I hope you use your voice and create a sustainably, wonderfully engaged voice like you never knew you had.